on Sunday in 1982. And then with on Ida today we have some very special guests. Her sister Christina Helgeson, who lives here in Maddock, and her sister Netta Hovden, who came all the way from Ridgeway, Iowa to be with us for Easter. Of course, we also have her daughter Ella. That's Mrs. Pat Kalinowski, who lives in Devil's Lake.
Pat,
why don't you get over and sit by,
I think I should have Pat in here too.
sit over here so we get your picture now with your wife.
Get over here.
Just go over and have a chair there, and we gotta make sure that Pat's here
do this
today.
without you.
What?
This is my husband, Pat.
Hi, Pat. There you go. That's good. Okay. Who else is here today?
We have Vernon over here in the corner.
There we got Vernon and Irene and Harlan.
We got Anna Mae and Erlenstein hiding back here.
Yeah, we were gonna get them on in
Get them out here too.
just a minute too.
Tracy and Janie, come over here.
Yeah.
Is he taking pictures now?
No, not yet.
Some special ones are coming in last. Not Kurt.
Get them all lined up.
We're always late most of the time.
We're the late
Curtis
comers.
Hanson was there too.
Come on in, have a chair.
You haven't gotten to see Netta yet. You better come over and shake hands with Netta. And
Come on, Kurt, I haven't seen you yet.
then you'll get on television.
Yeah, here we got Irvin and Anna Mae too.
Oh, absolutely. They
I always
are.
knew you had to know important people to get on television.
Sure, that's right. It isn't every day you're on TV, you know.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, real good.
Yeah.
Hey, Christina.
I think I'll have to do that one again.
How are you?
Okay.
Good.
Ask her if
I'll
she
sit
knows
right
you.
down here, but
That's right.
By the honored guests.
Yeah.
We're Tracy too.
Jane and Tracy, how about you coming over?
In the middle of the show.
Come on.
Come on, sit down here now.
There's a chair over here.
Then we'll all be here except Debbie is here.
Well, the kids are roller skating. See, that's why.
Oh.
come on, Tracy.
Here we've got
Come
Jane
here
and
by me.
Yeah.
Come on, Tracy.
Somebody's actually trust us.
You're the only one up, Tracy, that isn't on this thing.
and there we got Tracy. Has everybody been introduced here today?
We haven't introduced Hazel.
Okay.
Hazel Helgeson from Harlow.
Mm-hmm. Now it'll be kind of fun to reminisce today about some old times and hear some of these good old stories that from way back.
We're tongue-tied now. Talking about the old days again.
Then we could start out by telling us about our trip coming up here anyway.
Oh, the trip was fine, but I didn't care much about going, just sleeping all night, but that's what I had to do.
What time did you get on the train?
I got on at, it was late, it was about hour and a half late, and then so it was time to go to bed about 8 o'clock when I left La Crosse, yeah. But,
You were on all
I
night.
thought, I expected a better train, being Amtrak, but it was real rough.
How's that?
Could you sleep at all?
Oh, not in the early part of the evening, but first morning I was real tired, so then I slept. He had to come and tap me on my shoulder.
When you got to Devil's Lake, you were tired then by that time.
Yeah.
Did you get on the car that you went up some stairs, you know, and
Well, I didn't, and I thought I wanted to go up there because I thought it was so rough, but they told me, no, it's not any better riding on top, so I stayed where I was.
oh,
I think I'll try it going home,
yeah.
because it must be better, because it was so rough, I thought.
Oh.
Was it crowded?
Yes, coming to St. Paul, there come an awful lot of people out, but from La Crosse on, it wasn't too crowded. Yeah.
That's the only place they stop now, you know, in Minneapolis to get on. You gotta go to St. Paul to get on, you know.
Can't get on there.
No, you gotta go to St. Paul.
I thought it was halfway between.
Well, it's in St. Paul.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
it isn't in the town. I don't think, the way it looked to me.
River's in between, it couldn't be halfway.
Where it was you lived when you first were down there?
I was.
Yeah. What was
And
that
I-
house that you used to
Oh,
tell
I
us about?
remember that.
What
The
was it
Phil's
like?
place, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was
Phil's
born
house
there.
place, you call it?
Yeah, she was born at the Philsas farm.
I'm born in Philsas farm.
Mm-hmm.
Philsas.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But it was a different kind of a house. You said it was a special kind of a house. What was different about it?
Oh,
Built for 2 families.
in town.
No, in the country,
It's a double house. and-
double house.
No, I can't remember. 90 years is a long time.
Well, it was a very small house, I understand, and then,
Yeah, in Ridgeway.
and they were expecting this baby to come. And there was no doctor, so they had a lady come in there and wait for this baby to come. And
You and baby.
they put the girls up on the chicken house roof
Barn.
to sit there and wait till they were gonna throw this baby off from
I
the,
remember that.
you remember?
Yes.
Throw that baby off from the train, and they sat up there all day waiting till late in the afternoon. And someone come and told them, well, you can come in now because somebody brought the baby.
There's an
And,
old maid that lived down the track a little ways. I
Yeah,
don't remember her name.
that was the 18th of September in 1901. And today now, as you had the date already, didn't you? Well, here we are together, such as we are.
We're still all together.
Over 80 years ago for me, since they threw me off the train. And, I don't know, and then as I grew older, well, here I am, back to the same old dumping ground I know. And in the apartment house, and the track is still there, and the train goes by, and that's how it all happened.
You're 80 years ago and you're still perfectly happy right there, aren't you?
Oh, I sure am.
Glad you threw you off.
Yeah.
Because actually, you were the baby they were waiting for, weren't you?
Yeah.
Where did Henry, did he sit with you up on the
Oh,
roof?
yeah, we
too?
were all sitting there.
Yeah.
Hot.
Did you think that was strange?
Awful dry summer, the cows didn't have anything to eat, I remember that.
I
Yeah,
can remember
he
Mom
said it
telling
was-
that the trees started budding again
Yes, the
after,
trees budded after she was
because it
born.
started raining in the fall, and trees budded all over again.
So it gets dry there too.
Didn't you think
I
it was
can-
strange that they had you sitting up there on that roof? Didn't you have any? Did you
Well, I
have
didn't.
much with you, or if you spent the whole day?
No, of course I suppose we got something to eat. They maybe brought us out a sandwich, I don't remember that.
I wonder where Henry was.
He was with us.
Oh, was he? I just
Yes.
heard about you two
No,
girls.
he was with us.
Well, I can sure remember when Harlan was born. They shoved us all down, all us 3 girls down to Henry and Eddie's. And they didn't tell us what we had to go there for, you know, you're just gonna go, that's all, you know. They didn't tell us if we went, we'd get a baby brother or anything, you know. And we all 3 got homesick. You know, that'd be quite a thing. She had to put up with all 3 of us, you know, and here we were homesick and couldn't go home and had to wait till Harlan came.
He was holding up the show.
Speaking of homesick, back when Joan was about 2-3 years old, Ethel and I were to sing for a wedding in Minnewacan. I think it was the 9th of October. And we went in the night before for a rehearsal, and we went to a dinner afterwards, and we left Elaine and Joan with Mom and Dad. We got home about midnight and it was raining, so we figured, well, rather than pick the kids up and take them out in the rain, we just leave them there till morning and pick them up then. Well, we woke up in the morning and much to our amazement, it had snowed about 9 inches of wet, heavy snow. And I tried to get over there with the car and got stuck. I tried the truck and got stuck. And it was actually 3 days before we got the kids home. Well, we were talking, I was talking to Joni on the phone one day, and I asked her if she was homesick. Well, this is an expression, I suppose, that you have to learn to understand, you know, because to her, a 2-3-year-old, are you homesick? No, she says, I'm not even home. No, I'm sick.
That's the sad part of it.
She get off sick, she doesn't even know.
Yeah, that reminds me when Jean and Gary were small, you know, she was always teaching him how to dance from the time he could walk, you know, she was dancing with him. And so they were sitting and we had good old time music on the radio and she waltzes up to me, you know, and she said, "Can I have this dance, Gary?" Yeah, you can take it. He said, "I'll take the next one." He didn't have any idea what you were talking about.
How old do you feel today then, Christina?
Oh, close to 100.
I thought you were going to say
Take your hand out so we can see your face.
you were on camera.
We're on camera, candid
You're on
camera.
candid camera.
I think one thing would be fun if you gals could comment a little bit about some of your earlier Christmases. I was thinking back about that Christmas program we had out at St. Olaf here a couple years ago, and some of you gals were telling about like not even having a Christmas tree, using perhaps a weed or something like that for a Christmas tree, and a few things like that would be really interesting to hear about. Could any of you comment on some of your early Christmases? What you did and at that time, at Christmas time?
Oh, I can't remember.
I can't remember when we didn't have a tree, but I can remember before we had electricity, you know, we would sit in that covered sleigh, you know, and hold the lamps real careful so the mantles wouldn't break, you know, and get in the church with those lamps, you know, and then we had just only candles on the trees and had to really watch, you know, so that things didn't burn. And now you just
Forget about
switch the light.
it. But press the button.
How about at your home then, when you were at home when you were kids? Do you remember any special Christmases?
I remember the first time I found out there wasn't any Santa Claus. Us three girls had to sleep we slept on the couch, you know, that made into a bed in the front room. And so of course we had to go to bed early on Christmas Eve. They didn't give the gifts on Christmas Eve like we do now. We went to bed early, the gifts would be under the tree in the morning. But I made up my mind that night I was going to stay awake. And Maud come in there, you know, and looked, and I was still awake. Finally she got so tired of waiting for me to go to sleep that Geneva and Evelyn, they were sleeping, you know, so she said she was going to tell me something then. So I got to help put the presents under the tree and everything that night. But I had to keep still, you know, and I couldn't tell the girls, you know, at all. But I suppose I was about 6 years old, I suppose, but I was determined that night I was not going to go to sleep.
See Santa Claus come in.
I was going to see him.
Were you upset then when you knew there wasn't a
Yeah,
Santa
it wasn't any fun anymore.
One thing I think I remember hearing you people talk about is in those days you were really pretty tickled if you could get one Christmas present
One
at Christmas, and this was quite a contrast from today.
Yeah.
Sure was.
Yeah,
That's right, because Agnes Lean, you know, the teacher stayed with us all the time. And she put, under my pillow, she put a big book. It was The Three Little Niggers. And to this day, I still have that book, and I treasured it, and I, you know, looked at the pictures till I can still memorize them. It was so funny, because there wasn't many gifts, but what impressed me most was on Christmas Eve when we had the tree on the center of the floor at where you live now then, you know. And us kids all joined hands and we sang on Norwegian, "Ég er så glad that you look well." Yeah. That sticks back in my mind, that we marched around the tree. Outside of that, I can't remember anything special, you know, a lot of gifts or anything.
Well, there was one Rena Dyrud.
Yeah.
Wasn't Rena Dyrud that said they wanted a Christmas tree so bad?
You remember that when we joined hands around the Christmas tree?
Oh, I think it ended like very resurrection.
I think Rena Dyrud said they didn't have a Christmas tree and they wanted one so badly that they brought in a cottonwood and wrapped all of the branches with green paper, crepe paper, so that the branches would be
Yeah,
green
it
in
wasn't
the
much of
winter.
a tree, you know, but we thought it was great anyway.
Mom said that they wanted one so badly they brought in a chokecherry bush and tied red ribbons on that so that they would have some kind of tree. But Anna Mae, I think you told one time about Christmas, was it Christmas morning when your dad would come, or was it Christmas Eve when he would
When he went,
make this noise like horses coming
yeah,
in?
and he'd go and get this one package. You know, it was just, you know, the gifts weren't wrapped for us individually or anything,
No.
but he said, well, I gotta go out and see if Santa Claus left anything out here for you tonight. So he went out and brought this package in, and I can remember that time. We all got bedroom slippers, and we had never had bedroom slippers before. And oh, I thought they were the most beautiful things, you know. And when I think of it now, you know, they were really, you know, the old Indian head on them, you know, they weren't a bit pretty, but oh, I thought they were beautiful, you know, but we all four got bedroom slippers. I don't even remember what kind they got because I was so excited about mine.
Or did you say he used the sleigh bells off of the horses' harnesses?
Well, he
And
made it
jingle
sound like
bells?
there was something out there,
Like
you
it
see,
was
to
Santa
make,
Claus?
yeah, to make us think that it was Santa Claus that left this package for us, you know, and I think he went out in the garage and got it out of the car or something.
I can always remember on Christmas Eve waiting for your dad to go up to the church and
Yes.
ring the bells for Christmas, and then we'd stand on the south porch and listen to the church bells.
Mhm.
That was scary.
That was fine as long as Dad did it, but when we had to do it, it wasn't so much fun.
There's no lights there,
Going down the steps from the, up in the balcony.
It was fine when we went up, because we had the with light and we, you know, didn't mind it, but we had to ring so long, you see, that it would get dark while we were there, and oh, that coming down and running home, I'll never forget. We were so scared, we thought somebody was after us the whole way home.
There was one night that the bell didn't ring.
When Harlan started ringing it, and I, you know, really thoroughly still enjoyed it then, you know, because we lived down on the farm, you know, and of course I always waited for this bell to ring, so I'd always told my kids, come on out, 6 o'clock, we gotta go out and listen to the bell, you know, the bell is soon, and oh, that, you know, when it did ring, you know, this wasn't the night it didn't ring, but when it did ring, it just was beautiful through the crisply cold weather, you know, you just waited for that bell to ring.
For the people who don't know that, maybe
No, I
David doesn't know that that was
I didn't forget it,
tradition.
but I was
Scared.
I was,
Just a minute.
I
It was
was-
traditional that Christmas Eve at 6 o'clock,
Mhm.
St. Olaf bell would ring and everyone
Got out
would go
and
out on
listen.
their porch and listen for that bell to ring, wasn't it?
Mhm. That was the
just
thing.
a tradition.
well, anyway, the night that it didn't ring, I think I was 16 years old, and there was a lot of snow, so you couldn't get up to the church with a car. So I went up with the team and the sleigh, and tied my team out in the gate post, and proceeded up to the belfry. You know, there wasn't any electric lights up there. There was a 32-volt plant, but I think the batteries were dead, so you couldn't get any light without starting the plant. So I had my flashlight and made my way up to the belfry, and I pulled that rope once, and for any of you that have ever rung that bell, you know that the ceiling is yay high up there in the belfry. And when I pulled it the first time, the rope broke way up on the bell. And I was immediately underneath that hole in the roof where the rope comes through, and that rope came coiling down around me. And you know, that was in the days when I had hair. I think every one of them stood straight up. I didn't waste much time getting out of there. Untied my team from the gate post, and I think we were home much faster than I got up there.
And Anna Mae was waiting for the bell.
Yeah, right for the bell to ring.
In fact, Anna, maybe we go back the next day for the
I think he ran home faster than his
Boy,
horses.
it's something that made that bell just dong once you'd have been
Yeah, that was the good old days, wasn't it?
Did you ring the bell after that?
Yes,
Still
we,
never.
well,
Oh,
we
it was
haven't,
over in the-
we did ring it
church.
for a few years after that, but now it's been many years since that bell has rung on Christmas Eve.
At least your horses
didn't
took you
Elmer
home
used to
fast,
go
and we
up
went home,
there?
it was on foot.
Didn't you of
Yeah, you can run across the field.
The kids and I walked up to most of the time because it was milking time at that time, you know, 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock. So it was like usually the kids and I that went up there.
Well, didn't it ring at New Year's Eve too?
Yeah.
Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
We
right.
just got over
And I
the
know
fright
that.
of the one and we.
I went down to your uncle and aunt's Helgish, you know, and she says, vi fick inte höra kyrkevila igår kväll.
Oh, is that right? They waited.
They missed it. They stood outside waiting for it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know my kids, we really enjoyed it too.
Say, I like your pin, Ida.
We should do
I just noticed it.
Yeah.
Oh, I got that from you.
Well, no, it shows.
That's why it's so pretty.
Don't you like mine? Don't you like mine?
Because
Look at
that's,
Hazel.
oh dear, that's a little different. I didn't remember that one, but that,
Yeah, I got that
that
from you.
shows off that we're sons of Norway.
You brought them all for us 2 years ago when you came at Christmas.
Oh, that's right. Mine longer than that, I think.
No, you
No, they all
It's in
came
there.
at the same time. She gave them to us for Christmas 2 years ago.
Oh, well, I'm real proud of mine. I
Yeah.
work a lot
Mhm.
because
It's so easy to handle.
to show that I'm a good Norski.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should talk some of that good Norwegian and so he can get some Norwegian on there too, you know.
Åh, jag kan inte snacka för gott. Men jag kan säga allt jag vill.
Det är nog som ett det.
Ja.
Too much.
De skulle komma på Dakota, de skulle komma till Dakota på Nordic Fest. Då snackar vi norsk. Så det bara sprutar.
Yeah.
Ja, då har vi moro.
Ja, visst, jag var där en gång.
Ja, de må komma. En gång. Ja, det-
Harlan, come on, you and I used to do pretty good.
To the delight of all the people on
I
the
understood
party
that
line.
last part.
We used to spot the Norsk on the telephone when we were out in the country, you know.
Åh, ja.
Harlan and I.
Nobody else got anything done, they were busy rubbering.
Good reason for that. Yeah, so that you could say whatever you wanted, they didn't understand
Oh,
you.
I think the ones that were listening understood Norwegian far better than what we were talking about.
There's got to be an English word thrown in now and then on my part.
Straighten that out, you know.
Oh.
I always used to like to listen to Elmer and Edwin
Oh,
talk
yeah.
Norwegian. I heard them one time on the telephone.
But they talk Sogning, you know.
Yeah, and
Hard to understand.
but I understood it pretty good. One said to the other one, I think it was Elmer said to Edwin, ska du bruka vagta idag? Nej, jag tror inte det. Ja, jag bara undras, för jag får köra halv kidna idag. Chidna? I got out of the phone and I said, what's chidna? And then Ma said, well, that's cattle. But I understood all the rest, but that chidna, that...
I always thought that was chickens for a long time.
Yeah, I thought you were going to haul straw from the chicken.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, I think we soon better quit. He's running out of tape.
Well, I've got a question I've been wondering here. Is I'd like to know is how did your family decide to move up to North Dakota, and when did they come here, and where did you first stop here in North Dakota?
We come to Mayville, Portland, North Dakota. Mayville, Portland, North Dakota.
Any idea what year that was?
Well, they moved from Iowa when I was a year old, so that would be in 1902.
Yeah, I think it was about like
They
that.
moved to Mayville.
Yeah, we lived there 5
Yeah,
years,
always.
and then we moved up here in 1907. So that
Yeah, I remember Ma
that,
always
that
said they came
comes out
here.
right. Pretty close.
And Mom, she just hated to come up here, she said, because they thought that North Dakota was going to be so terrible. She told us that she thought she'd never see green grass again when they had to move out of Iowa.
Well, I suppose that's what we were told.
Yeah, because
From there.
they said when it got bad in Iowa, well, they always said, Ma said that they always said, "Nej, no more var färdig Dakota." It'd be terrible
Yeah.
in Dakota because it was so bad down there. See.
Yeah.
Tell
then
me
you-
about your dad then, when he was staying back there with
About my dad?
this girl was washing windows.
Oh, no, I would never repeat that.
Oh, yes.
Now,
I
when
don't know how far
you came
this film might go.
When you came to Portland, though, you didn't live there too awfully many
5
years.
years.
5 years, and
Yeah.
then they moved on up here,
Uh-huh.
and then
And he left the whole family down Mayville for about a year, I believe.
No, from the spring till fall.
Spring till fall?
Mhm.
Oh.
moved them up here.
And
we
so
come
he
up
had
with
to
that.
have a hired man and a hired girl.
My girl hasn't got a sickness and get out there.
Well, that's when we moved. We hadn't moved yet now, what I was gonna say, because Pa was there alone. And then this hired man that he had was jealous. This is what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
And leaving, he had to go out, the hired man had to go out in the field and work. He didn't trust the hired man, so he ordered his wife to be outdoors and wash windows. And Pa couldn't figure out why she never got through with her windows. But she was always polishing and washing windows outside, so he could see her working outside. Well, I don't know if I should finish the rest of it or not. You know the story.
Yes, I know.
Continue on.
No,
I don't know the story.
I don't think so.
Oh, you didn't notice that, huh?
No.
Well, we talked about it coming up. Well, nothing, no harm was done, but that was jealousy.
Yeah, that's what jealousy could do. But anyway, what I was going to say then they moved back to Iowa again when you kids were how old then?
Oh, I don't remember.
See, because they were up here then until Christina and Clarence were married in North Dakota. And then didn't they then after that move back to Iowa, or what was the
They
deal?
went back there and stayed with them for a while, and then
Yeah.
come back. We kids were alone.
We moved back and forth so many times, and of course, I was the youngest one, so I enjoyed the train ride. I just loved going on the train, so that's why I thought it was fun coming on the train again.
Yeah.
Because I got the chance to go back and forth.
Well, I remember Mom telling that she went back to Iowa to visit her folks when I was 9 months old. And
Hi.
when Dad came down there, she said she was down there about a month then, and then Dad came and he felt so bad because I didn't know then he came. I didn't want
Hi,
to.
Debbie.
So we were living in Iowa at that time, that would be about
Your daddy went to get you. Did he just miss you?
because I was born in
Did you walk?
Did he miss you?
Have you been roller skating?
Grandma Anna Mae, do you want to introduce your
Oh,
little grandson?
This is Matthew Curtis Hansen. Look at David. He's taking a picture.
See, now I got your picture.
Can you say hi,
You
David?
better come in here too, so you get on there.
Hi, how are you?
I'll wait a later.
And there's Auntie Netta over there. Go and shake hands with her.
Hi,
Go shake
do you
hands
shake
with Netta.
hands? Oh, so
Say-
nice to
say
see
hello.
you. Your panties are cold. Well.
Well, getting back to what, talking about, when did Grandma come here from Norway then? How old is she?
Is she 12 or 14?
12 or 14.
14, yeah.
Well, where did she go? I mean,
Well, she came here with her dad.
Yeah,
And he
she-
left her in Iowa, didn't he?
Yeah, her mother died when she was a baby. And so he brought her over here. And now I don't remember how many days they were on the,
Long time.
yeah, it was for weeks and, in a way. And they were so
Short of food by the time they
got
got
terrible with head lice. They were just almost sick when they come here because they were so festered with head lice on the boat. And they had some relatives, so they went to these relatives.
Organs.
But,
Yeah, he went to Iowa then to these relatives.
yeah.
And then that wasn't where Grandma stayed then when he went on.
No, there was these Holsteds and that had such a large family that they needed help. So then Mother was placed there then, to help take care of the children. And she stayed there till after she worked there till after she was confirmed.
I'm with my daddy,
And
Mama.
then she Grandpa didn't come back till after she was married, did he? Great Grandpa, Negord?
I'm not sure about that either. I believe that could be true.
Well, I thought that, I can remember her saying that she really didn't see him then until after she was.
I know she often got after us when we didn't want to study our catechism lesson for confirmation because she said, you don't know how good you have it, she said. because when I worked for Anna Holston, that was, she said she worked hard all day and didn't have time to look at her lessons. And she said at night she'd light the lamp and try to study. And then her Mrs. Holston came up and blew out the light. Because she said we can't waste that oil. So I remember we got told, you know, that because we didn't study our lesson.
Well, I think
Then she walked 12 miles to confirmation.
Well, did Grandpa marry her when they were in Iowa then, or was it after?
We went south to an old church across the highway. Yeah. Isn't there anymore?
I don't remember how many miles she said she walked for her confirmation.
That was 12 miles.
12 miles. That's something.
Well, her father had left her there with those Olsfords, and he went out west, is that right? He went out to
Whether
Washington.
he went back to Norway or
No, he went to,
Seattle?
no, to, down by Seattle, not far, or it wasn't quite Seattle.
Spokane.
Spokane.
Blues country, that wheat country up there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's a picture then of Caroline taking Vestina and Netta out to see Grandpa when he was out west. He left him all that time until she was married and had the children.
Oh, I she maybe had heard from him a little bit, but not very much. I don't think.
But he didn't come back to Iowa. You went out there with your mother to visit him,
Yeah,
didn't you?
after we came to Dakota.
Oh, when we took that picture, we went out because he was ill.
Yeah.
That mother was called out. He must have gotten quite well. He looks well on the picture, but he had blood poisoning or something. That's the reason we went out.
I remember he gone with his hand in the pail of cold water to the neighbors for help. Because that took the pain out of him, had his hand in cold water.
Oh.
I can remember that so well. He come with his hand in the pail of cold water.
Well, did he come back with you then?
No.
I don't think so.
When did he come back here
I
to
don't think
live?
that was that time.
I remember.
He did come back here and then he bought that place, you know, up there where Roy Myers lived, so I wonder when he did come back and do that then.
Well, that
He
was
come back.
after that.
Yeah, when he came back to North Dakota and he bought that farm.
Yeah.
Well, he'd come back kind of for a short while because what I remember about him coming back was he'd have his trunk full of apples, so we'd stink up the room upstairs with these apples that he brought back from Spokane.
I think Mom brought him back when she come back.
Where was he when he died, or where is he buried?
He was buried up here in our church. Newburgh.
He died at our house, didn't he?
Yeah.
When Vernon was a baby, down at our farm. No, I wasn't born yet when he died. I remember seeing pictures of him.
Here you tell about how you met Elmer.
Elmer, Iowa. Well, I didn't meet, that was Elmer, that was Maddock.
Oh. Oh. Well, how about Elmer then?
Well, I don't know. He seen me that time. It's the first time he knew who I was, I guess.
Is that right?
See, he wants me to tell something about you, and I don't know what to sit down here and we'll talk it
Go
over.
ahead. Get over to the other side of Grandma there, and we're trying to find a little bit about your men, you know.
And Calvin, I don't know if you were along
Oh, no.
when we hit those balloons in the street there.
You were. Oh, no.
I think you were.
No. 10 minutes. No way. Would I be along with you, Davy?
We're on for a celebration.
Yeah, but you were with Henry, I heard.
I was with Henry.
Is he creepy?
Anyway, they had all kinds of balloons laying in the street.
Yeah,
there,
sure.
Yeah. And he had a cord.
Oh.
And he says, Cedric says, try it. And I said, he wouldn't do it. So I crawled over and I hit 2, 3 of them and I got a prize. I don't even remember what it was. Do you remember?
Oh, no, but I heard all about it, but I didn't.
Yeah, but
I didn't know. I think you got a couple of dollars.
Dad saw you doing this.
Huh?
Dad saw you doing this.
Yeah, that's when first Elmer paid attention to me. I didn't know he was looking at me, but he said, no.
He was down there.
He was down there and he seen me do it.
No, I wasn't with. I was home.
You were home. I thought maybe you were home.
No, that was Elmer Farmer's Day.
Yeah, I suppose
Something
it was
like
Farmer's
that.
Day.
Yeah, I heard about it.
I wanted him to try it, you know, Henry did.
About what year was this? Do you remember?
It was before, a couple of years before I was married, I guess.
What year is that? When were you married?
1917, about 15, something like that.
Wow.
So that was 2 years ago.
Where,
That's all I remember.
where were you married at?
At Ridgeway. On the 3rd of January.
Who,
5th of January.
who was Dad with
Third.
that day?
I forget. 3rd or 5th, can you remember?
Third.
3rd, I think. 3rd of January, that's what it
Who was Dad with that day then? Because he said when he saw you doing that, he told who he was with that he was going to go with you.
was. Oh, well, I don't know anything about that.
That's
He
it.
was just standing on the street
Looking at us.
watching us.
I didn't see him. But I think the first time he seen me was when I got off the train after, was it you that broke your leg about something in Algeria or something? You must have got hurt up there, and somebody did. And we were picking up then when I left there, and I took the train back to Ridgeway.
Oh.
And he seen me come from the depot, and that's the first time. I didn't see him, but he had
Those
seen me.
Ridgeway kids were hanging around the depot, you know.
When did you move out on the farm up here, where next to Vernon's here, your original
Oh,
farm?
don't ask me that. It was in March, I think, in 1919. 1919. I think that's what it was.
Or is that was only a couple years after you married then that you?
Yeah, well, Caroline was a baby.
They lived in Iowa till their barn burnt in Iowa.
I
Yeah,
see.
but there was about 2 years after we were married.
Oh.
We moved up here. Because Caroline was a year old when we moved up here, and she wasn't born anything too early, so.
Yeah, are you telling stories now, Grandma?
No, I'm
or-
telling the truth.
Oh.
She was born in Iowa.
We were married in January, and she was not born the 1st March, but the 2nd March.
Yeah.
So I'm not telling you lies.
Oh, that's good.
Well,
That's good.
that's about all I can think of, I guess.
When Caroline was born, Elmer, we lived at Fulsos, you know,
Same house.
and Elmer and I drove down to the old, where they lived, the old Ellingson farm. And it was so icy. It was so icy, but we drove in a team and buggy.
We slid all over it.
Yeah. Didn't slide like a car, you know.
Well, you got a strip?
Who was it that fell over something when I was born and running to get that? Who was it that, was that Henry Olson? That was working for you? That time when you said he got so excited and they said he run outside and he fell head first over something all going down the barn to get, huh?
The swill cart.
Yeah, but what was he gonna do? Get the doctor, get Dad, or what is he gonna do?
I don't know. I can't remember that.
Had to go get the midwife, I suppose.
Oh, that's
Maybe something just covered, I suppose.
oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Boy, look at all the grandchildren coming.
What are you doing?
Why don't each one of you kids tell us your name and how old you are?
Okay, I'm Paul Colton, and I'm 6. I'm 7 years old. I'm a drunk person. I'm Melissa McCall. I'm 6.5 years old. I'm Amy Hanson. I'm 7 years old.
Who's that guy in the chair?
I'm Matthew Hanson is 2 years old.
Hi, Matthew.
Oh, that's,
You guys should sing a song for her. Jane.
Okay, yeah, how about?
Can you sing a Sunday school song?
How about?
I just, get back to it.
Me and Amy are just singing the candy man.
That's my baby.
candy man. The candy man can, 'cause the candy man can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. And the world tastes good like the candy man thinks it should.
Very good.
And that's the answer of mine too.
We're out at David and Jane Holge's, and it's April 8th, 1982, and it's a beautiful evening, and we have Aunt Netta from Ridgeway, Iowa with us, which we are real happy to have her come up and spend this time with us. And we've had a delicious supper out here at David and Jane's, and are just having a great time, and we've decided to record a little bit of history about our dad, Elmer Ellingson, and he was from Ridgeway, Iowa, and born and raised there, only about a mile, and well, not hardly a mile from Ridgeway, I don't think. About a half a mile out of Ridgeway on a farm. And his mother and dad's name were Eric and
No, Maggie.
Maggie or Margaret?
Maggie, I think.
Maggie.
Margaret, maybe.
I think it was Margaret.
Yeah,
wasn't it? Margaret Ellingson. And they lived to a real old age. I just don't remember how old they were, but I know they celebrated past their 60th wedding anniversary, because Mother and Dad and Martha and Edmund, remember, were down for their 60th wedding anniversary. And to this family was born Ole Ellingson, who died as a teenager. And then Edmund Ellingson was the oldest, and then my dad, Elmer, was the next, and then it was Bertie, was it? And Bertie older than...
No, Bertie and Albert.
Bertie was older than Albert.
Yeah.
Then it was Bertie, and then it was Albert. And of this family, only Albert is still living. And I'm sure that Grandpa died in about 1940, I will say 45.
Yeah,
It's pretty close to 45. And then I think our Grandma Ellingson maybe lived
About 3 years.
maybe 3 years after that. And then she passed away. At this time they had a house, rooms built onto the house where Uncle Albert and his wife lived. They had 2 rooms built onto that house, and that's where our Grandpa and Grandma lived all these years. And then you kind of heard the story of how my dad saw my mother driving this Ford and hitting these balloons and deciding that I think I will go with that gal sometime, he said. And so I don't know how it got from there. How did you arrange your first date then with him, Mother, or how did that happen?
That's so long ago I can't even remember.
Can't remember?
I bet you can remember almost every date, just as clear as yesterday.
Can't you remember the first time you went with him, or where you went, or what you
No,
did?
I didn't know. I remember that he said the first time he seen me, I can walk him from the depot. And he thought then, well, that's the one I'm going to have. What?
But you don't remember anything about going with him?
Oh, yeah.
Well, tell us something.
Well, I don't think I can tell about it.
Can't tell about anything?
Oh. But he had an old Model T, I remember that.
Well, before you were married, I know he went out to, or I don't know if this was before or after, but anyway, his real good friend was his cousin, Eddie Upstedal. And they went out to South Dakota and bought some land. Was this before you were married, or?
No, it was after we were married.
He went out there after you were married and bought the land.
Yeah.
And then they were, anyway, then they were married in Madison, I suppose, out
Yes.
in the country. And of course it was in January when the weather was cold, you know, so I can remember they have a real nice wedding picture taken, and their attendants, of course, were Netta and Henry and Bertie
And Eddie.
and Eddie.
And I can go on from Eddie.
Okay, you take over.
You were wondering when you went to South Dakota.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well,
before he went to South Dakota, he proposed to me. And he thought I should marry him.
He did.
And no way.
Does Eddie?
Yeah, Eddie wanted to marry Netta.
No way.
You didn't you ever go with him even then?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you did?
Sure, we dated.
Oh.
But, oh, you knew that.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, well, now you know big news. You don't?
I knew that you had gone with him, but I didn't think that he had ever gotten serious, you know.
Oh, yes.
So then he thought you should go to South Dakota too.
But back in my mind, I had my Henry.
You were all set for that. So anyway, then you see Eddie
I got that.
yes, you got. Dad had to sell his land in South Dakota, but Eddie got to keep his. You see, because then when Mother and Dad got married, Grandpa and Grandma Scotland didn't think they should go to South Dakota.
Everybody that are going up there came home again.
Couldn't make a living in South Dakota, so they couldn't go there. So when they were first married, they lived on the old place.
Grandpa Ellingson's farm.
Was that where the Hall place was? It Grandpa Ellingson place, huh?
Yeah.
That was Grandpa's first place then?
Yeah, we lived there, but yeah, that was where he
And they lived there then until their barn burned down. And they lost their barn and lost some horses. And come on now, help me out.
Oh,
And
that's when they moved up here then.
did you decide then, right after that, to move up to North Dakota?
next spring.
The next spring,
Uh-huh.
after the barn burned. But I suppose in the meantime, maybe Grandpa had gone up here and had evidently had this farm picked
Yeah.
out then that you were to live on, so that's how come you come this way. And so then when they moved up here, they shipped everything by train, you know. They loaded box cars of animals, and this was kind of cute because last fall when we were at Iowa, then of course, well, Eddie Upstedall, which I didn't realize was maybe could have started something there again when he was down there last fall, you know.
You didn't try?
He didn't try anything,
And
huh?
I stayed far away. No?
And he and Henry Scotland had so much fun talking about this then, you see, that when Dad and Mother moved up here and they got this boxcar all packed and everything, well, one man could ride for nothing and watch this, you know, watch the animals and see that they got fed and everything. But Eddie said, well, Henry was going to go and I wanted to go too, and I didn't have any money, he said, so I sneaked in and I hid amongst the animals then when they came around to check to see if there was anybody in there. He said I was either down there or I was up there someplace, he said, so they never did know that I rode along to North Dakota too, he said, when they took their stuff up here. And, well, anyway, now they're living on the farm. Now they have moved to this farm, which it was north of the St. Olaf Church, and that's where we lived all our life until in when did they move to Minnewacan and take over the hotel?
40.
You came back from California.
45.
They went out to California and worked in a defense plant during World War II. And then is when Grandma Scotland passed away that winter when Mother was in and Dad were in Long Beach, California. And Netta came up for the funeral. And I went back with her.
That's right.
And we spent a night in Minneapolis with Caroline and Norman. They were living in Minneapolis. And then we went on down. And then Amy got married right after we came back down there.
We went home for the wedding, yeah.
We got back for the wedding.
That was the 6th of January, 1944.
Yeah, see? So it was in 44. Then I went on to California because the folks were out there. And then they stayed until, I think, that next spring. Then they went back because Grandpa Ellingson was very sick at that time when they went back. And I think he died shortly after they went home that spring. And then when they came back, I don't know if you were married, so you were living on the farm, weren't you?
Yeah, because your grandma moved out.
They had moved up to the,
Because I remember when grandma died,
tried to get a hold of them.
Henry come up, and I went over to Devils Lake and picked him up. And grandpa was alone.
Yeah, up there at the farm, yeah. Uh-huh. And so when they came back from California then, did they go right into Minnewacan and take over that hotel? When we came back from, when Elle and I moved back, then they were running that hotel in Minnewacan, see? So I think they
must have been on the farm for a while.
with you.
Must have been.
I
I can't remember that.
No, I don't think so.
Huh?
Oh, I haven't fucking seen.
wasn't here, so I don't remember what took place, but I know they went into Minnewacan then and run this hotel, and that was about 45, and now I don't know how long you did that either.
Some over a year.
A couple years, I think. And then they went back to the farm, and were out at the farm. By this time, then, you had moved up to Grandpa and Grandma's on that farm. So then they went back to the farm down home, and then they were there until they moved into Maddock, weren't they?
Yeah.
And now I don't remember, I think maybe that was in about
In the 50s.
maybe 52, 1 or 2, something like that. And run the Moeller home, or the...
Started it.
Started it, yes. Got it going from
Built it,
scratch.
Yeah.
The Moeller home, you know, and they were there for...
3 years.
Oh, you were there for 3 years.
Many years. You were there until you retired.
Yeah.
You were from...
Oh, I think you were there
Oh,
10,
Several years, that one.
10 years anyway.
at least.
From 7 to 10 years.
Well, I remember Jane telling about the Christmases where they always said Christmas at the Muller home.
Yeah.
That was kind of different.
Kind of unique, you know.
Yeah, the old,
Have Christmas with all the people there. That's they had a big family.
they like to see the kids come around, the old people there, and play with girls there in their school.
Yeah.
How many people did you take care of in the Muller home, Grandma?
Oh, I don't know how many was there, different ones.
No, how many at one time do you think you
Oh,
had?
3,
All the time.
oh, what, 12, I
I
suppose?
think that's all it held on.
10 or 12.
And she and Dad were the only ones, and it was a 24-hour deal, you see. It was around the clock, and I can remember it. I don't know why I was there, but I slept there one night, and it was just like Grand Central Station. Everything was fine until about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then everybody starts doing their running around, and it sounded like Grand Central Station upstairs. I thought, what in the world is going on? But Mother could sleep right through this. She was so used to it, you know.
Her and Dad was doing what several of them were doing the same thing over at the home there. No, they done it by themselves up there, cooking and washing and bathing, and the nursing home they had. Well, they shouldn't have had them. There should have been a nursing home. She was taking bed patients, taking care of them.
Well, not so many bed patients.
Oh, you had one bring her all the time, it seemed like.
But it was a full-time job. I know that. I know I thought it was.
I couldn't
I thought one night was enough. I couldn't take that. But anyway.
Cooking for them.
Cooking for them and washing and mending and
lawn and garden.
Cut their hair and
Mother enjoyed it, but Dad never did like it.
Yeah. Well, he didn't mind part of it, but he didn't like the taking care of them, you know.
No, that's what I mean. The work he didn't mind, but just...
Yeah.
Well, I used to hear Jane mention that Elmer enjoyed carpentry work so much. What did he do in that time? Did he build birdhouses and
ornaments, garden ornaments, lawn ornaments, I mean?
Sit and make little things, and he made us each a deal to put suitcases on, you know, a luggage caddy, you know, to put the suitcases on, and on those flower stands, you know, that he made with all the different. He just liked to putz with wood, and
yeah, he sat down in the basement and worked on that when he didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah, he really enjoyed that.
So.
Well.
We talked a while about Dad and Eddie and be together all the time. I remember hearing them talk about when they were in Minneapolis, Henry and Eddie and Dad, and we went to a show down there, and Eddie and Henry decided they were going to, Dad went to sleep, and we went to sleep in the theater there. And they sneaked out and they left him in there. And then they, of course, he woke up and didn't know where he was at. Where Henry and them were at, and they were hid someplace, you know, waiting for him to. He was looking around. I guess last time I heard them together, they were talking about that,
Yeah.
laughing about it.
They were real good buddies, I guess, those three, Henry and Eddie sounded like they were good friends, and you know, I know Dad and Eddie were.
It'd been fun to hear them talk about the trip to South Dakota. I don't remember what it was all about, but Henry was talking about last time he was up here when they made it. I think it was, I don't know if it was, I know Henry and Eddie and Dad, and I don't know if it was more, but they went to South Dakota and all the troubles they had getting there, and car trouble, getting hot, and everything they went through, and they heard the whole life history about it. It'd been fun to have that on the tape if someone would have told it now.
Well, now I think it's Netta's turn to tell us about her love life, because she can remember what happened in her.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. You tell us about leaving North Dakota and
No.
that's interesting.
Sure it was, but I can say I'm not sorry I eloped, that's for sure. And if I hadn't eloped, I don't know what in the world would have happened. Then either.
Well, and she
shook up everybody.
Yeah.
We weren't shook up at all.
They knew what they were doing, and nobody else did.
I often think of that, you know, how cool we were.
And they called Bertie. Bertie was one of their attendants, she said, and they called Bertie, and she met him in Minneapolis and everything. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Where'd you get married then?
Oh, way.
Got married in Minneapolis then, huh?
Oh, sure, at the parsonage. Went to
Pretty good for some country kids come in and get to find a minister in a hurry, and
church. Leave it to Henry, he didn't have any trouble.
He knew his way around real
He got a
well.
hold of the preacher. And we came back to Ridgeway on the train, you know, and his mother and dad were there with open arms and welcoming us. And from then on, just everything. Lived together with them for 5 years in the same house, and both of them were so kind, you know. Just was never a bad word between us. And when we moved from the farm up to our new home, we loaded up in a lumber wagon, put all our belongings in a lumber wagon, and took off, and Henry's brother was standing beside the wagon as we pulled out and kind of saying goodbye, you know. This was Rudy then, you know. Oh, he said, I don't think, he said, that it'll go as good now, he said, as it has done these last 5 years for you, he said. He was kind of doubtful because when he married was quite young yet, he said, because he knew we had gotten along so well, you know. Moved up on the hill on our 80 acres.
That all you had, 80 acres?
Huh?
There's a lot of land down there at that time.
That's all they had to your farm, was 80
Yeah,
acres.
just 80 acres. This is what we raised our family on.
But so that was a
Well,
lot of land.
we rented, of course, extra land when this work got bigger to help. But
Did you raise a lot of livestock then in Iowa?
oh yes.
yeah.
A lot of pigs and milk cows.
Started
didn't you?
out with cows and pigs, yeah, and chickens. And then the Depression came in 1930, you know, and 35. And hot winds and, and corn wasn't too good either. But and we had borrowed our money from Henry's aunts, or aunt and uncle. They had plenty of money, so it wasn't any trouble borrowing money from them. And we paid the interest, you know, every year, and finally Henry said, you may as well take it, he said, you may as well, we'll never make it. He told this old fellow. He was kind of getting, you know, disgusted. Oh no, he said, don't worry, he said, you'll make it. It'll be better times. And before we knew, we did make it.
But you built your place up when you...
We built our place up, started with a windmill and drilled the well, you know, drilled the wells and the windmill and put up a little shed, and then we put up the barn while we were living down with his folks. And those first 5 years. And moved up there after we got the house built.
I remember the first time we were there, I think I was 6 years old the first time that I came there, and of course this was almost a new house, you know, and oh, we thought it was really something, you know, because they even had one room that was supposed to be a bathroom. We had never heard of anybody having a bathroom, you know, and we thought, just imagine, this is supposed to be a bathroom, you know.
Yeah, we had the electric pot, we called it.
Electric pot.
Electric pot, we called it. Just like you had out on the farm.
Yeah. And we really thought that was something that they had that new house. We really,
That was in the hallway.
I can remember the first time I saw Vern when we came walking in, you see. He is, what is he? He's a little younger than I am, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was standing in the wood box right behind the door and playing with a yo-yo. And he could really do this, you know, and I'd never seen one of those before either. And of course he couldn't talk English, you know, so we couldn't hardly talk to him because he was all Norwegian. He talked Norwegian, you know, so we had an awful time talking with him at first.
He said, oh, de fighting ingenting, they talked English. De fighting ingenting.
We couldn't understand what he wanted to tell us, and he didn't think we were very smart.
I hope he comes sometime up here and hears that back now, what you said. I hope he does. I want him to come out here so bad that...
He'll have to take you up the next time, then. That would be real nice to do that.
Should tell him about an uncle, Dad's Uncle Ole come up here from St. Paul.
Oh, the time when us kids got so scared when Uncle Ole Obstedal from Minneapolis came up with that 19 what truck?
21.
I suppose it was about a 30.
No, it
Model
wasn't.
A truck.
It was younger, older than that.
Oh, well, 28 or 30, I suppose, in there. Model A.
He had bought this in down there, and he had never driven a shift truck before either. So when he bought it, he marked the shifts on the floor, you know, 1, 2, and 3, so he knew where to put this lever, and he took off for North Dakota. And of course he came up and he came into Minnewacan, and he came out the east road there, you know, that comes right by Vernon's place, you know, and by Hanson's, you know, that road there. Well, he went by Nordrum's, you see, and of course Nordrum's were scared of anybody that was strange, you know, and they saw this strange truck go down the road. And not only that, but there was a man walking, and this truck stopped and picked up this man. So they started calling around and telling everybody that there was something wrong in the neighborhood, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 2 bums in cahoots. One was walking, and another bum come and picked him up.
Picked him up in this truck, so he thought they were thieves.
So Gastina called us and told us to run and hide.
Told us that
trained us not to be scared, you know. So we went upstairs and hid under the bed. Called Edmonds. They were smart enough. They went out in the grain field and hid. Got out of the house, and we went up. And Dad was out in the field.
I was in town.
Yeah, we laid up under that bed hotter and that pisswood, sweating and laying there, and he come in the house, this man. And the rocking chair was going, squeakity squeaked on, and we laid there sweating. Here was Dad's uncle. And this one till Dad quit in the field in the evening.
No, he finally noticed that he went outside, and of course we didn't dare move because we didn't know if he was in or out of the house, but we knew he was someplace. So he had walked up in the field to Dad and said, where is everybody?
No, Art Nordrum or somebody come over and told him there's a
I don't expect